Today we are talking about the transplants epidemic and specifically, why is everyone moving to Charlotte and how is it changing the city? Like, is it changing what the city even is? Because as thousands keep pouring in every month, it has reshaped the price for homes here, traffic, and really the entire feel of the city as a whole. And so we're going to get into whether it's just the growth or whether it is, or I should say, we're going to get into whether what we're seeing is just the growth or if it is also the start of a real problem and the implications if you're moving here. So specifically, just how many people are really showing up. We're going to talk about what it's doing to home prices and who's getting priced out, the parts of daily life that are feeling the squeeze first, and whether the old Charlotte is already gone, and also if this is growth to celebrate or a problem to fix. So let's talk first about what is the transplant epidemic, because before we even call it an epidemic, what exactly is spreading? Charlotte is spreading. So when I say transplant epidemic, I'm talking about this study from the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance that on average 157 people per day are moving to the Charlotte region, according to a Charlotte Regional Business Alliance analysis of recent data. And so that adds up to more than 57,000 people in a year. And that's new people coming in that were not born here, that are deciding to make Charlotte home. And you can also see here, just in comparison, a lot of people have moved to Raleigh, but a lot more people have been moving to Charlotte. And so the city's added 21,000 people just about in 2024, 2025. Number one in the entire US, and now is closing in on 1 million residents all in all. And so to be clear, most cities would kill for this problem because a lot of people are moving here, creating jobs, also taking jobs that's why they're moving here. A lot of investment is coming in, a lot of opportunities for growth, and also we're seeing home values continue to trend upwards despite a slight national pullback in home values. And so demand, which is what happens when you have, I just realized that this is so small. Let's see if we can't maximize this. So demand is something that it's either there or it's not. There's you can't fake demand. And there's a lot of people that want to be here. I'm noticing on this camera here, it's so small. Why is my camera so small? Let's see if we can't fix this. Crop. Bear with me here for a second. We're going to try to make this bigger. There we go. I think that's what it's supposed to be. We're making adjustments to the recording studio to try to make this a little bit easier to see, especially on mobile devices. So hopefully this is what we were going for. Let me center this because that's going to annoy me if we're not centered. Okay. That looks pretty cool. All right, so a ton of people are moving here, but who are they and where are they coming from? So there are two different waves hitting Charlotte the hardest. One is from New York, the other is from Florida. And so by place that people are coming from, New York is currently leading. And one of the things I've noticed from all the people that I've talked to moving here as well, because again, I help people move to Charlotte and make Charlotte home every single day. One of the things that I have noticed is that there's a lot of people that are New York born, have moved somewhere else, lived somewhere else, and then for whatever reason, life has taken them, whether it be to Florida, Europe, South America, it's taken them somewhere, and they've decided it is time to make Charlotte home, which we support, we love them. And so anyways, New York is leading. Mecklenburg has the most New York-born residents in North Carolina, fun fact. at just shy of 88,000 as of the last census data. And then also, by recent flow, Florida is number one into North Carolina with 33,600 people moving up here in a year, largely, at least from the conversations again that I've been having, due to a lot of the hurricanes and extreme weather that Florida was getting last year. And so while that is the majority at 51% of the people that are moving here, also 49%, so 51% is New York, Florida, and everywhere else, all the domestic relocation. We also have 49% of the people that move here are from abroad. I was just talking with the gentleman yesterday, 2 days ago, that is moving here from New Jersey, but he's also international, and he got sick of the cold weather up there and is ready to move somewhere a little bit warmer. And so every wave brings something that the city needs. There's a lot of people moving here that have money, skills, networks, and they are contributing to the local economy here in very meaningful ways, whether they're from South Florida or from New York City or from somewhere else in the U.S. or from somewhere abroad. All of them are coming to Charlotte because they want someplace that's got better balanced weather, better cost of living, and it's just it's a nicer place to invest, raise a family, to retire, to enjoy calmer weather. There's a lot of reasons to love Charlotte and to love North Carolina. But let's talk more about the wave of people that are moving from Florida, because while many of them are moving here for the weather, they're not all moving here for the weather. And so for years, everyone ran to Florida, and now they're running from it to here. And while, again, weather is a consideration, it is by no means the only consideration. Florida is the #1 origin state for North Carolina arrivals. Let me see if I can pull up the... Oh yeah, and this is a real interesting thing that I've talked to a lot of people about recently. So North Carolina, but the Carolinas in general, the halfback phenomena. So many people move from somewhere, usually New York, New Jersey, down to Florida, discover that it's not what they're looking for, and they move halfway back up the coast to escape extreme heat, extremely high insurance costs, and overdevelopment that that Florida has been experiencing. And Charlotte gives them some respite. That's a good vocabulary word. Some escape from. Actually, let's define respite. Temporary period of rest, relief, or delay from something difficult, tiring, or unpleasant. That is your living in Charlotte vocabulary word of the day. So why leave? Insurance costs in Florida are running 5 times the national average right now. Plus, again, the heat is nothing to laugh at, and the cost has gone up considerably as well. And so Florida's loss is Charlotte's gain, with North Carolina's lower costs, and because we don't have the same coastal insurance nightmare, there's a lot of reasons to love the Carolinas. And actually, I mean, even one of my very good friends from college, Trisha, her parents were looking at a place to buy a beach house, and they looked all over. They looked at Florida, they looked Georgia, South Carolina, they looked at Virginia, they looked at North Carolina. And after looking at all the different options, they decided to purchase a beach home kind of over by the Outer Banks, because it was relatively inexpensive cost of insurance. It's a beautiful part of the coast, and it wasn't too expensive. They were able to get a really nice home without having to spend a fortune. And they're not, ultra high net worth individuals or something. They're comfortable, but they're not billionaires. And so North Carolina was a great balance that gave them some great flexibility, and was also, in the short term, a good investment property before they actually moved down here full time for retirement. And we've seen that a lot. There's a lot of people that, whether they moved to Florida or considered moving to Florida. Fun fact, I was actually one of them. I almost bought a home that was maybe 100 yards off the coast. It was like one street off the coast in, Oh, it's this sleepy little retirement town. I was going to turn it into an Airbnb. I'm trying to remember what it was. Let's see. Let me change this real quick. Why is it going to make me log in again? Let's see. Bear with me. Bear with me. I tried to change accounts, but Google wants me to log in again. Here we go. Okay. So, it was Inglewood. Inglewood. I was going to convert it into an Airbnb there, and then I kid you not, it was like maybe a month later, not even, it was probably a couple weeks later, then Hurricane Ian came through and just decimated that part of the coast. And so I have no idea if it still exists there or not, but that was one place that I was very close to purchasing a little investment property. It was only maybe 800 square feet. It was small. But there's a lot of people in that same kind of situation they're refugees from the boom of South Florida, and they're just trying to live life. They're just trying to enjoy retirement, and it's real tough when, again, the cost of living someplace warm has just gotten astronomically high. West Palm Beach is a great example of this. Boca is a great example of this. It used to be a pretty comfortable place to be able to raise a family. We've had multiple of our clients moved up here because they were trying to send their kids to good schools, and whether it was Jupiter, West Palm, Boca, it was just so PSL. It was just so challenging for them to be able to afford to send their kids to good schools and live somewhere that had good schools, that they just finally gave up, moved up to Charlotte, started a new life because of all the development and increases in costs in South Florida, and they're very, very happy here. And so, again, a lot of people are not first timers. They're coming halfway back, and some of these transplants actually have tried the South previously. So I already touched on this a little bit, but a halfback is, again, people that generally are from the Northeast, moved all the way to the Southeast, and then are moving halfway back. Many of those are retirees, but not all of them, especially with some of the boom in companies moving to Florida during COVID. A lot of those same companies then are allowing their employees to work remote, and since then, people might love being employed in Florida, but they don't love living in Florida. That is why we are the Living in Charlotte channel, not the Living in Florida channel, because I looked at Florida and I decided to move to Charlotte. True story. True story. Anyways, so the trend across the Carolinas cannot be understated. Florida's net retiree gain collapsed to just 815 people in 2025. Let me fact check this because I want to make sure that my notes are correct, they're whole, and that is hilarious, and it is verified. Florida's net retiree gain collapsed to 815 people in 2025, driven by 45,696 arrivals and 44,881 departures. Average annual homeowners insurance premium skyrocketed to roughly $8,292, about 3 times the national average. That might be out of date in terms of numbers. Let's see. Florida sees sharp drop in retiree net migration as halfbacks rise. Florida's shrinking gains in 2025. Florida gained only 815 net retirees as nearly equal numbers arrived and departed, falling out of the top 10 states for net senior migration. Thousands of retirees are moving halfway back north to states like South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee for affordability and lifestyle. South Carolina topped retiree net migration in 2025, attracting over 5,400 seniors with lower property taxes, Social Security tax exemptions, and coastal access. Yeah, this is one of the interesting things we've seen, particularly in the Charleston area. Not to be confused with Charlotte. They're two different cities. Everybody gets it mixed up. Two very different cities, and there again, there's some great reasons to move to the region more so than Charlotte, just because it's a little bit slower. It's a coastal town. It's a lot more expensive, especially because a lot of the northeastern retirement money has moved in there, and so it's a lot of people paying crazy money in cash for some of those properties. But hey, if they're happy, go for it. So halfbacks are many of our neighbors now, and often retirees are remote workers that have savings, and especially for retirees, they're paying some taxes, but they are also not putting strain on schools, and so because they're local, they're not traveling as much in general. They tend to spend more money locally, tend to settle in for a long time, and so in terms of the impact to the local market, they're really like they're ideal neighbors. They really they add a lot of stability to the local market, and they also inject a lot of cash into it throughout their retirement. But the biggest wave does not retire here. It actually gets recruited here in Charlotte because companies keep importing more people here. The fastest way to get 2,000 transplants here is to move a major corporate headquarters. And so a few examples of this recently. Honeywell moved its corporate headquarters from New Jersey in 2018. Let's see. Honeywell moved its global headquarters from Morris Plains, New Jersey to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2019. The Fortune 100 industrial conglomerate relocated 150 to 200 senior management jobs that kept a substantial presence in New Jersey. And they have continued to hire down here since then. The company said it plans to bring about 500 jobs to its new Charlotte, NC headquarters over the next 5 years, boosting its total number of Charlotte-based employees to about 750. Approximately 150 to 200 New Jersey-based senior management jobs will be moving to Charlotte between now and September 2019. About 1,000 Honeywell employees will remain in New Jersey across 6 different locations, according to the company's release. That number includes about 800 employees at the company's current headquarters in Morris Plains. I'm curious to see how many people actually Honeywell, because they said over the next 5 years, so let's see how many it is. Honeywell employs approximately 1,150 people at its ops global HQ in Charlotte, NC. A lot of people don't realize there's a lot of different business units at Honeywell. Fun fact, I tried to get a job at Honeywell straight out of engineering school, but got recruited by Toyota instead. 2021. Interesting. Okay, anyways. Also, Truist set up a headquarters after the 2019 merger. Let's see. Following the 2019 merger of BB&T and SunTrust Bank to form Truist Financial Corporation, the company established, oh, that's an interesting factoid, because I wondered where Truist came from, because I knew it was something, but I didn't know what it was. Company established its corporate headquarters in the former Hearst Tower. They officially purchased the 47-story skyscraper for $450 million and renamed it Truist Center. Interesting. Let's see how many employees there are. 3,000 employees based in the Charlotte region. Lowe's also, so we do have a pretty substantial tech hub here. Actually, I have several friends that work at Lowe's, Microsoft, and other companies here. But both Lowe's and Microsoft. You would not believe how much tech they both, well, Microsoft you would believe, but Lowe's actually has, I think, about 2,000 employees here. Let's see. Employs approximately 11,000 workers across the Charlotte region, which includes about 5,000 corporate and support staff. Yeah, they have a tower in both South End and in Morrisville. They have a campus as well. Anyways, and then Albemarle relocated its headquarters. I haven't heard of Albemarle. Let's see. What is Albemarle? I know the town. 400 to 500. Specialty chemical and lithium production company. Has about 500 workers in Charlotte. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Anywho. But it's clear this is, again, it's a place to be. A lot of people have moved, or a lot of companies have moved here because the economic development work that has been done is working as it was intended to. All of these headquarters moving to the region bring in a lot of high paying jobs and a lot more tax revenue, not just people. And also because companies attract and chase talent, the talent also moves here in seek of work. And so there's this virtuous spiral upwards that you see as a result. Also, a couple other, I don't remember if I have this in my notes later on, but SMBC, this was also another HQ. So they're establishing a second U.S. headquarters in Uptown Charlotte, so that their New York headquarters, and then the second one is in Charlotte. And they're creating about 2,000 jobs here. They are subleasing 200,000 square feet at the former One Wells Fargo Center to support banking ops, and they're investing about $50 million to do it, which is pretty cool. Again, we beat out a lot of other cities for this election. So there's a lot of, oh, and there's also, what's the car company that's moving here? It was, Scout Motors. Selected Charlotte for its global corporate headquarters. They're leasing 145,000 square feet of office space at the Commonwealth Development in Plaza Midwood to house approximately 1,200 employees across R&D, finance, and marketing. They have a manufacturing plant in Blythewood, South Carolina, scheduled to start producing fully electric Scout SUVs and trucks in 2027. And they're starting to relocate people, I believe, this fall. That's going to have a very interesting impact on the local market for sure. I think we've already seen some of it because there's been some acquisition, or some home purchases that wouldn't really make sense otherwise. But it's going to be interesting to see what the full impact of that will be. Anyways, so there's a lot of companies that are moving here because of how business friendly we are. And so when you look at the sum total of all the impact, right, or of all that activity, the first place you start to see the impact of that is the housing market. And so the first real symptom shows up when you're shopping for houses in the home prices, because we have seen home prices start to explode. So how fast did we see prices actually move? Well, let me show you. So we're going to put Charlotte and then Charlotte MSA. And the important difference here is Charlotte is just inside of the city limits. Charlotte MSA is the county surrounding as well. So if we're looking at just the look back 10 years. We're going to look at the median sales price. You're going to see 10 years ago, you buy an average house in Charlotte for about 180, or in the Charlotte metro area for 175. Not a big difference, pretty similar. And now it still is not that different. It still is pretty similar, but one, you can see the seasonality excuse me, of home prices, and two, you can also see a lot of people thought the housing market was going to crash, and we've seen quite the opposite. In fact, we have seen it continue to trend upwards, and let me just take we hit another all-time high again this year, and we've continued to have more companies and more jobs move here, and a lot are moving here this winter. So it'll be interesting to see what the actual impact is once again on home prices and home values. So the median as of this past month, so as of July 1st, so the close of June, the median home price was $425,000. And then historically what we'll see is it'll butter out through the rest of the year for a couple of different reasons. One, because this is the peak moving time, and so larger homes tend to transact right now, but also because there's seasonality to real estate, and so you tend to get better deals in the early to mid-winter time. We did also see that the income needed for an average home jumped from a household income of $79K in 2020, so you can see here, that would have been back here around that 270, 280, 290 mark, to 146,000 in 2025, which is that 4 to 4.25 purchase price mark. And so for anybody that got in early, right, especially if you're pre-2022, you're sitting on a heap of money. Congrats. You made some good financial decisions, and you are now reaping the rewards. And if you are trying to buy a home now, then it is going to be a little bit challenging than it has been previously. And that's why it's just important to really plan for it ahead of time, make good financial decisions, consult with real estate professionals to understand how to get ready to purchase, and really prepare, not just be able to buy a home, but be able to buy a home responsibly. Because again, as values are rising slower, but still continuing to rise, we're close to back about on trend with what the trend line was pre-COVID. And so the best thing you can do right now is just make sure that you don't buy a terrible home. Like we can see over the long term, real estate generally, with, you know, if you bought in 2021 or 2020, you got real lucky with home prices exploding. Obviously, you're not going to expect that to happen again. But what you are going to see is people who bought a home that is, I call it the Toyota Camry of homes. No issues, lasts real long, does what it's supposed to do. If you buy that and hold it for a long time, you're gonna save a heap of money that you would have been thrown away on rent. You're gonna make a heap of money just by continuing to own a lot of equity in that. So let's see, we're getting close to the end of this. I think we got 2 more sections, and it's time for dinner. I don't know about you. My stomach starts to rumble about this time of day. And my stomach is rumbling. So buyers, let's see. Oh, and the buyers that are making it worse to try to buy a home often are skipping the bank entirely and not even talking to a mortgage lender, because about a third of Charlotte home buyers don't need a loan. They just buy it in cash. And so approximately 34% of all Charlotte purchases were all cash in 2024. And newcomers that are moving with equity from more expensive markets like they can outbid. They have a pretty solid advantage. If that is your situation, congratulations. Give me a call. It is a it 2-3 years ago nobody cared. Now having cash can be, with the right seller in the right situation. Again, some sellers don't care, but for the right seller in the right situation can be a huge advantage. And especially going into the end of the year, there's a study by Realty Track at 32 million transactions that found that the best time of the year to purchase a home in Charlotte, North Carolina was October. So the next 90 days or so is one of the big negotiations, especially if you want options to pick from, one of the big negotiating opportunities of the entire year, because it gives you the ability to make aggressive offers. And most sellers will say no, like we'll just wait. But a few of them, I actually have a client that I've been looking for an investment for him. And I talked to a potential seller today, and that was their story. Like they're just trying to get it sold. They need to get it sold. And so they know that if they waited till next year, maybe they could get a little bit more money, but they need to get it sold. And they are okay with taking a little bit more aggressive offer because they can get cash, close fast. It's less stress. It's just an easier process, and it's sure, and it's today. It's not a maybe, and it's not next year. And also, if that's not your case, interest rates are high today. They are expected to come down eventually. And I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not going to tell you that I know when that's going to be, because I would be lying to you. And anybody that's telling you that they do know, they're lying to you. But when rates do stabilize at a lower point, we're going to see it pop again. Like this was unprecedented low interest rates. If it happens again, we are still supply constrained, and so that means we got more people that need to get into a house and have a place to live than houses we have available for sale. So a lot of people are going to come back and buy a home when that occurs. And it'll be great if you own property, and it'll be tough if you don't. Which is one of the phenomena, bringing us to the next one. For the people that are from here, live here, but don't own here, many locals are getting priced out. And the people who built Charlotte, or at least have called it home for a very long time, can't really afford Charlotte anymore. It is very rare to find somebody that's actually from Charlotte, because 46% of North Carolinians were born out of state, which is up from only 23% back in 1980. And so many people that have lived here pretty much their entire lives are getting priced out and having to rent, for an indefinite amount of time, or move further and further outside of the major cities or their place of employment to be able to afford a home. Because it's just, again, a lot of people have moved here for great paying jobs, and as a result, neighborhoods around those great paying jobs have gotten a lot more expensive. Myers Park, Plaza, Country Club Heights, Commonwealth, Elizabeth, South End, Dilworth, Loso. If we look at a lot of the Eastover, Sedgefield, you go up to Noda, a lot of these areas have just exploded in the last few years, primarily because of proximity and ease of commute into these major employment centers, and it's gotten a lot more expensive. I will say I also see a lot of comments on YouTube that annoy me, talking about Charlotte's full, check South Carolina. South Carolina's full, check North Carolina. North Carolina's full, check Florida. And a city of transplants has no gatekeepers. Nobody gets to say you don't belong when nobody's from here. And the only people that claim to be from here actually are not from here, or they're not from Charlotte. Or if they are from Charlotte, they don't live here anymore. So if you see comments like that, tag me in them, and I'll tell them to go pound sand. Or if you're one of those people, comment on this video, and I'll tell you to go pound sand. Because anybody that wants to move here to better their life and the life of their family deserves to, and we welcome them with open arms. Also, everybody that moves here also brings one more thing with them, or they should because it's a necessity, like blood in their veins. They need a car. So 157 new people a day means 157 more cars on the road, generally. But all the roads are built for a lot less than that. And so we've seen a lot of gridlock. Right now it is 5 o'clock, so you're seeing the worst of the worst when it comes to traffic. You can see 85, it backs up, which to be fair, this exchange here is always just slammed. 74 backed up, 277 backed up, Independence Boulevard, 74 bypass. It's all slammed. You see 485, the express lanes also backing up. 77 southbound backing up. All the 77 northbound by Huntersville backing up. Over by Birkdale Village backing up. So much backup. And so Charlotte drivers on average, from a recent study, lose about 41 hours and $734 a year to congestion. And so why doesn't transit absorb it? Well, 75% of people drive alone and only 2% of people here take the transit because we're pretty sprawled out. And outside of just a handful of locations like South End and Loso, or going up to Noda and University, outside of just a handful of locations where there's light rail, like the Lynx Blue Line service, there's not really a lot of great there's really not a lot of great ways to get around. Actually, a really interesting place that map resource that I found recently, explore.charlottenc.gov, because you can add some really interesting overlays here. A few of my favorite ones. This is probably one of the best resources you're going to see all, like, your entire time of considering a move to Charlotte, or if you already live here. There's so many different things, but I'll show you a few. So here, if you want to see like the gold line, this is the gold line. If you want to see the silver line proposed stations, you can also see where all the silver line proposed stations are going to be. If you want to see where the extension for the gold line and the proposed places for that are going to be, you can see that. Silver line, proposed route. Blue line route. Transit station areas. This is all the different zones, so you can see like what they plan for in terms of walkable or just easy to access locations for each of those different stations. Quarter-mile walk. It looks like that was only for the original section of this, but that still is interesting. Blue line alignment, Ballantyne proposed. So that's the proposed extension down there. There's some real, which is also interesting too, because if you know anything about the Ballantyne Bowl, that was also they've reserved spot or land to be able to add. My chair is sinking. There we go. They've reserved land for that if and when they make that extension a reality. But yeah, so there's that. We can turn on the gold line route. Wait, I think it's on. Gold line proposed, blue line stations. Do we have the blue line stations? Oh, red line proposed. That's also important. Proposed red line stations. Like, it's so cool to be able to see all this. So we go all the way up to just about Mooresville. And this would reduce a lot of congestion along I-77. Yeah, so there's some really cool projects and things that are going to happen. But anyways, so you can see all that, and the key one that I wanted to point out was what was it? The Gold Line proposed stations, the blue line extension proposal, the silver line, which for whatever reason they made purple on this map, and then the red line and proposed red line station. Again, some really interesting things, especially if you're trying to look and plan ahead for the long term, because like this here, I think, especially the gold line extension, because they're like this section here that's going to be, if you know, I think it's Commonwealth, is going to be just sandwiched here. Yeah, Commonwealth and Commonwealth Park are going to be sandwiched here between silver line access and then gold line access eventually. And whatever, again, that might take 10 years, might take 20 years, but just from an investment thesis standpoint, that's really like long-term, that's a really juicy play in my opinion. Not financial advice, but it is some real estate insights that are worth, it's a perspective worth considering. Anyways, I'm off topic a little bit. So traffic, we can eventually fix. We're working hard to try to make it more bearable, but the vibe is harder to get back because the small town southern south feel got paved over with a lot of breweries and all gray apartments. And I don't know about you, but the gray trend is getting a little bit, I like gray, but I also like more than just gray. So how's everything changing? Well, Charlotte is one of the largest apartment booms of any U.S. metros with 29,300 apartment units underway. Yes, it's that many, and that's crazy. Every corner looks the same, and so a lot of locals say that the old, slower Charlotte, the southern pace, right, is getting harder to find and harder to really enjoy here. But it's also never had more to do than today. Newcomers have, and all the transplants here, have brought with them many restaurants, culture, teams, a nightlife that the small town that Charlotte used to be just never had. And so the old, a lot of people complain that Charlotte was just so boring. There's nothing to do. It was nothing going on. And people still say that, but nobody that is here and going out and actually enjoying the city says that anymore because there is a lot of stuff to do. And a lot of that's because of how many people have moved to, especially the central areas, the core of Charlotte. But when that core fills up, the growth just keeps sprawling outwards. And so we've seen this epidemic of growth go all the way out to the county line and to the state line. We see this overflow, and you can kind of see it too when you look at the map, right? You can see all this red goes basically out to the state line, and then it thins out because a lot of people keep going, but also there's a lot of sprawl going right up to the edge of it right here. And specifically areas like the 49 bridge that goes over Lake Wylie, just absolutely insane traffic. And so I'll give you an example here just to show you a couple of variations on how long it can take to drive somewhere. We'll go to the West Lake Wylie Shopping Center, and let's say we're going to drive that from Uptown. We'll drive that from, let's say, the Wells Fargo building. So, I don't know why we're walking. Walking would take 7 hours and 12 minutes. I would not recommend that. Driving also might not recommend because there's really no way to do it. But if we say instead we're going to depart at, let's say, 2 a.m. See, well, you can see typically it takes 45 minutes up to an hour and a half. But if we're departing, let's say we depart at 3 p.m., 35 minutes up to an hour 20, depending on the day. If we're leaving at 2 p.m., 30 minutes to an hour 10. Hour 10 would be very atypical. But let's say like 11 p.m. 26 to 40 minutes. So in general, it's going to take you 30 to 35. Not bad, but an hour and a half is rough. An hour and a half is rough. If we are talking about, instead of to West Lake Wylie, let's say to Fort Mill, this is also another fun one. It can be 20-ish minutes, give or take. to downtown Fort Mill. But if we're going at 5 p.m., 35 to an hour 5. It's wild swings that you see on some of these as a result. So it's just something to keep in mind, especially as the city has continued to sprawl. You see some of these further out areas and suburbs. Again, like Lake Wiley, like Fort Mill, also like Mooresville. Mooresville and Troutman have gotten a lot more popular. We've also seen Waxhaw, which also has today it doesn't look too bad, but the drive into Waxhaw, especially around 5 p.m., can be absolutely insane. It's another one of those ones that can go from like 30, 40 minutes up to like an hour and a half. And so as people have spread out, they are taking their money with them, and we have seen a huge lift in property values and home values across state lines in Fort Mill and Lake Wiley, and also just in some of these further out suburbs like Waxhaw and Concord and Mooresville and Denver and Lowesville and Lincolnton and all over. Locust, Midland, Stanfield, all those, Red Cross, big climbs as well. And also, as you see more homes popping up, you also see more shops, schools, and jobs that are pushing out further as well. But it's no wonder that the people who were here first are starting to lose patience, because many longtime Charlotteans really there's not many of them, but they're very loudly saying two words: we're full. So how do longtime residents feel? Well, not all of them, but some of them, the loudest ones. The unofficial slogan of 2026 is, quote unquote, we're full. And so if you're thinking about moving here, can transplants even tell that it's changed here? Well, for some people that have moved here long time ago and have watched the city evolve, they do see. Oh, this is so cool. Sorry, little moment of being ADHD, because I have raging ADHD, diagnosed. We can actually pull this through the day. So 8 a.m., 9 a.m. So it's not too bad. It's kind of spread out. Midday, not too bad. Afternoon starts to pop up, 4 o'clock, bad. 5:55, real bad. And then it gets a lot better. And it's all green by 7 o'clock. Anyways, I've had people that are from Long Island tell me that they used to deal with the Long Island Expressway, and now they got to deal with 485. It's a lot better, but it still is feels a little bit like they're watching the same movie. It's just moving quicker. So, to be fair, every city that has been worth moving to has gone through the same growth period, and so people, whether it was Atlanta or Nashville or wherever, people always say they grumble and they say we're full. But they're saying it because of the symptoms of success, not the symptoms of decline. Nobody has ever said we're full when talking about Detroit. And we do not aspire to be Detroit, because we are Charlotte, North Carolina. Anyways, that's my Midwestern lore right there. And the funny thing I will say is, many times today's annoyed locals are usually yesterday's transplants. It's people that moved here 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and now they're feeling very entitled to the city. So anyways, so after looking at all the evidence, is the epidemic actually a bad thing? And everyone tries to blame transplants for Charlotte's problems, but we also need to blame transplants for why Charlotte is winning. If it's an epidemic, is that good? Well, a lot of the people that are moving here, a lot of the transplants, right, we have the #1 population gain in America with jobs and equity riding on it. There's a lot of good that has come from this. If you're moving here or selling to newcomers, does that matter? Well, you're buying into the strongest demand story in the entire country in terms of the real estate market. And for people that own here, they're also selling into the strongest demand for any real estate market in the country. But I mean, I don't think anybody's pretending that there is no cost, because it is true. Affordability is a real challenge that was not the same challenge even a few years ago. The income needed to buy a median home has nearly doubled in the last 5 years. And so people that are really looking at this closely need to either get in before the next wave of prices hit, but also make sure they're not just blindly buying on the hype. And so the real question isn't necessarily whether the transplants are causing problems or the cure to all our problems. The question is, are you here yet? Because if you're not here yet and it's inevitable, then come on, get here. Let's help you make Charlotte home. And if you're still up in the air, I make a lot of other videos about all the different aspects of living here, but I'd be curious, drop down in the comments exactly what it is that you are trying to figure out, the questions you're trying to answer, because good decision making is not a function of more time. It is a function of the right information. And that's what I'm here for, is to give you the right information to help you make a move with confidence. And that's one of the reasons why I put together the Charlotte Areas Quiz, so you can answer a few questions and get the information you need to have a short list of homes, or excuse me, of areas recommended to you that you can check out that will help you figure out, what to research more, what's a good fit for you, what's a good fit for the lifestyle that you're looking for. It's a great research tool. I put a ton of time into it. It's very, very helpful, and highly recommend you check that out. Or if you like a little bit more personal touch, we're all about personal touch, personal service, white glove service here. You can call, text, or WhatsApp if you're international or moving here from abroad. 980-449-3750. It works on both. And I believe this QR code, if you scan the code or tap the link down in the description, you can also book a call with me directly. Sometimes the calendar glitches. If that happens, I apologize. Just text me. I'm very responsive on text. My name is Lucas Roller, your favorite realtor here in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. Take the quiz. Text me. I love you. And until next time, as always, hope to show you around.